MS-05 Zaku I. The Zaku I was the machine that helped define the entire Zeon military during the early years of the Universal Century. Before it appeared, mobile suits were still experimental weapons with many technical problems. Zeon engineers changed that by creating a mass-produced combat machine that could actually survive real battlefield conditions. The Zaku I was simple, practical, and reliable, even if it lacked heavy armor and advanced weapons. It became the foundation for almost every Zeon mobile suit that followed. Many later machines carried the same mono-eye camera, curved armor design, and industrial appearance that first appeared here. MS-06 Zaku II. The Zaku II became the true symbol of Zeon during the One-Year War. It was faster, stronger, and far more versatile than the older Zaku I. Different versions were created for desserts, space combat, underwater operations, and command roles. What made the Zaku II important was not just its design, but how it completely changed warfare in the Gundam universe. Battleships that once ruled space suddenly became vulnerable to fast-moving humanoid weapons, carrying machine guns and heat weapons. The machine also became famous because of Char Aznable, whose red custom Zaku moved 3 times faster than normal units and turned the mobile suit into a legendary icon. MS-07 Gouf. The Gouf was developed specifically for ground combat after Zeon realized that the Zaku II was not perfect for fighting on Earth. Unlike the general-purpose Zaku, the Gouf focused on close-range combat. It carried a heat sword capable of melting armor and a powerful finger-mounted machine gun built directly into its hand. The Gouf had a more aggressive appearance with sharper armor and a taller silhouette, giving it a very different personality compared to the rounded Zaku. Even though it was produced in limited numbers, it became memorable because of ace pilots like Rambaral, whose calm and experienced leadership gave the machine a legendary reputation. MSM-03 Gogg. The Gogg was Zeon's first true amphibious mobile suit. Fighting on Earth created a new problem for Zeon because ordinary mobile suits struggled underwater. The Gogg solved this by using thick armor, powerful claws, and strong internal pressure systems for deep-sea operations. It looked far more monstrous than earlier Zeon machines, almost like a walking submarine rather than a humanoid robot. Its heavy armor made it surprisingly durable, and Federation forces were shocked when they first encountered it during attacks on coastal bases. MS-M-07 Z'Gok. The Z'Gok refined the amphibious concept into something faster and more deadly. Unlike the bulky Gogg, the Z'Gok was sleek and agile underwater. It used retractable claw arms and powerful beam weapons built into its hands. The design looked almost alien, with smooth curves and long limbs that gave it a unique appearance among Zeon machines. Char Aznable's red custom Z'Gok became especially famous after its brutal assault on the Federation headquarters at Geara. That scene helped turn the Z'Gok into one of the most recognizable amphibious mobile suits in Gundam history. MSM-04 Acguy. The Acguy was designed for stealth and reconnaissance missions. Instead of focusing on raw power, it used quiet movement and low heat emissions to avoid detection. Its round body and unusual proportions made it look less threatening than other Zeon machines, but that appearance hid a surprisingly dangerous unit. The Acguy could infiltrate enemy territory, gather intelligence, and attack from unexpected positions. Over time, it also became strangely popular among fans because its softer design gave it a more human and almost mascot-like presence compared to the harsher military machines around it. MS-09 Dom. The Dom represented a major increase in firepower and mobility. Rather than walking normally, it used hovering systems to glide over the ground at high speed. This allowed it to move quickly across deserts and open terrain while carrying heavy weapons like the giant bazooka. The Dom's thick armor and massive frame made it intimidating even before combat began. Its black and purple color scheme also gave it a very different visual identity compared to the green Zakus. During the famous Black Tri-Stars attack, the Dom showed how coordinated mobile suit tactics could overwhelm even powerful opponents. MS-14 Gelgoog. The Gelgoog was Zeon's attempt to create a machine equal to the Federation's Gundam. By the later stages of the war, Zeon finally gained access to beam rifle technology and combined it with high-performance armor and strong mobility. The Gelgoog was actually superior to many Federation suits on paper, but it arrived too late to change the outcome of the war. Many pilots assigned to Gelgoogs were inexperienced recruits because Zeon had already lost many veteran soldiers. Even so, the machine demonstrated how advanced Zeon engineering had become by the end of the conflict. MSN-02 Zeong. The Zeong was one of the strangest and most advanced Zeon machines ever built during the war. It was designed for new-type pilots, humans with heightened awareness and psychic-like abilities. The Zeong could detach its hands and control them remotely using wire-guided systems, allowing attacks from multiple directions at once. It also carried enormous firepower through megaparticle cannons hidden inside its fingers and head. The machine famously appeared unfinished because its legs were missing during the final battle, yet it was still powerful enough to fight the RX-78-2 Gundam evenly. Its bizarre appearance perfectly reflected Zeon's growing obsession with experimental new-type technology. AMX-004 Qubeley. The Qubeley appeared years after the one-year war during the rise of Neo-Zeon. Piloted by Heyman Karn, it became one of the defining machines of the era. The Qubeley moved away from the heavy industrial style of older Zeon suits and introduced a cleaner, more elegant appearance. Beneath that graceful design was an extremely dangerous weapon system called funnels, remote-controlled beam weapons directed through new-type abilities. This allowed the Qubeley to attack enemies from impossible angles without directly moving into danger itself. Its influence shaped many future new-type mobile suits across the Universal Century timeline. AMX-011 Zaku III. The Zaku III was an attempt to revive the legendary Zaku name for a new generation. Neo-Zeon wanted a modern machine that still carried the spirit of the original Zeon army. The result was a large and heavily armed mobile suit with improved armor, stronger thrusters, and advanced beam weaponry. While it kept the mono-eye design that defined Zeon machines, it looked much bulkier and more advanced than the classic Zaku II. Even though it never achieved the same fame as its predecessor, the Zaku III symbolized how deeply the Zaku identity remained connected to Zeon itself. AMX-015 Geymalk. The Geymalk represented the extreme side of Neo-Zeon's new-type experiments. It was enormous, heavily armed, and built around remote weapon systems. The machine carried dozens of funnels and megaparticle cannons capable of overwhelming enemies with sheer firepower. Unlike earlier Zeon mobile suits focused on mobility and battlefield flexibility, the Geymalk functioned almost like a moving fortress. Its size and weapon load reflected the increasing scale of late Universal Century warfare, where mobile suits began pushing beyond traditional military design into something closer to superweapons. NZ-666 Kshatriya. The Kshatriya became one of the most visually striking Neo-Zeon machines in later Universal Century stories. Piloted by Marita Cruz, it carried 4 massive wing binders filled with funnels and thrusters. The machine combined elegance with overwhelming presence, appearing almost like a floating fortress in space. Despite its huge size, the Kshatriya remained agile thanks to advanced propulsion systems. It also continued Zeon's long tradition of funnel-based new-type weapons, showing how ideas first explored in machines like the Zeong and Qubeley continued evolving decades later. MS-06R Zaku II High Mobility Type. The high-mobility Zaku was created for elite pilots who needed greater speed and maneuverability in space combat. Engineers added stronger thrusters, larger fuel tanks, and improved movement systems, turning the ordinary Zaku II into a far more dangerous machine. Ace pilots across Zeon used these units during critical battles, and many customized them with unique colors and equipment. These variations helped create the long tradition of personal mobile suit customization within Gundam, where a pilot's machine reflected both their skill and identity. MS-18E Kämpfer. The Kämpfer was built for one purpose only: rapid assault. Unlike heavily armored machines designed for long battles, the Kämpfer sacrificed protection in exchange for extreme speed and overwhelming firepower. It carried shotguns, bazookas, chain mines, and other weapons intended to destroy targets quickly before retreating. Its sleek blue design looked almost fragile compared to other Zeon suits, but that speed made it terrifying in close combat. During Operation Rubicon, the Kämpfer demonstrated how dangerous Zeon special forces could still be, even after the one-year war had officially ended. MS-21C Dra-C. The Dra-C showed how desperate Zeon remnants became after their defeat. Built from leftover parts, including old fighter aircraft components, the Dra-C was a crude but effective space combat unit. It lacked the sophistication of earlier Zeon machines, yet it allowed scattered Zeon forces to continue resisting the Federation with limited resources. Its rough construction reflected the declining state of Zeon itself, where survival often mattered more than technological perfection. AMX-011 Doga. The Doga became the main mass-produced mobile suit for Char's Neo-Zeon during the events of Char's counterattack. It combined classic Zeon design ideas with more modern Federation-style technology. The machine was reliable, versatile, and capable of using funnels when assigned to new type pilots. Visually, it carried the familiar mono-eye appearance that instantly connected it to Zeon history. In many ways, the Doga represented the final mature form of the classic Zeon military mobile suit, before the Universal Sentry moved into newer generations of warfare. MSM-10 Zock. The Zock was one of the strangest amphibious machines Zeon ever produced. It was enormous, heavily armored, and covered with megaparticle cannons on nearly every side of its body. Unlike most mobile suits, the Zock could fight effectively facing either direction because its design was almost perfectly symmetrical. That unusual shape made it look more like a moving weapons platform than a humanoid robot. Although it appeared awkward, the Zock carried enough firepower to threaten entire enemy formations during underwater assaults. YMS-15 Gyan. The Gyan was developed as a rival to the Gelgoog during Zeon's search for a next-generation mobile suit. Instead of balanced weaponry, the Gyan focused heavily on close combat. It used a beam saber hidden inside a fencing-style shield filled with missiles and mines. The machine's design looked elegant and knight-like, very different from the military appearance of most Zeon units. Even though the Gelgoog was ultimately chosen for mass production, the Gyan became memorable because of its duel against the Gundam during the final stages of the war. MSM-08 Z'Gok. The Zogok was another experimental amphibious machine, but unlike the stealth-oriented Acguy, it was designed for direct assault. It used extendable arms for surprise attacks and launched sharp boomerang-like blades from its head. The design felt wild and unconventional, reflecting Zeon's willingness to experiment with unusual battlefield ideas late in the war. Although it never saw large-scale deployment, the Zogok showed how Zeon engineers constantly searched for specialized weapons to counter the Federation.